NASA welcomed 11 new astronauts to its ranks Friday, January 10th. All of them have successfully completed more than 2 years of required basic training and are the first to graduate since NASA announced its ambitious Artemis program. Candidates for Artemis were chosen from a record-setting pool of more than 18,000 applicants. NASA's goal is to land the first woman and the next man on the moon by 2024 and explore more of the lunar surface than ever before. NASA is calling this new crop the very best of America. Among those 11 is Raja Chari, a U.S. Air Force colonel from Iowa and the son of an Indian immigrant. We spoke to him soon after the graduation ceremony. Here's what he said. Take a listen.
Congratulations, Colonel Chari. Just a few hours have passed since your graduation and you're already in with a real chance for a moonshot. What are you looking forward to? What's on your mind? Historic possibilities exist now.
There's, like you said, there's all the excitement and the promise of what's ahead with Artemis. But to your question, which is a good one about what am I thinking about, what happens on Monday? And I'd be honest, the honest answer is it's time to get to work. So like the administrator said, we're trying to get to the moon to stay by 2024, and we have the technology to do that. We're working on getting the resources to do that, but that's going to take a lot of work. It's not going to be easy. And so all of us now that we've graduated we won't be assigned to missions for a while, but in the meantime, we'll be helping all around Johnson Space Center in different offices that are working on getting us to the moon. And so that's what's in my mind is, the center director asked a great question in a meeting. Like, at the end of the day, you should ask yourself, what did I do to help us get to the moon today? And I think that's kind of one of the guiding principles that I'll be using, is asking myself at the end of each day, what did I do to get us there, to get us closer?
You were chosen from among 18,000 applicants. What do you think sets you apart and this cohort apart? No, seriously, what's the secret sauce?
If I knew the secret sauce, I would have got picked in 2013. So I applied then. I made it to the second round of interviews, but wasn't selected. Applied again in 2017, and honestly thought, I'll apply again because I really enjoyed the process, the interview process of meeting the people, but I honestly didn't think I was going to get picked. And so maybe that's a little bit of the secret sauce. I've told, I tell kids when we go tour places or do appearances that there's no set of check boxes you should do to become an astronaut. You should really do what you enjoy doing, what you love. And I think in 2017, one of the things maybe that was different compared to 2013, and I'm completely speculating, is that I was completely happy with the life I was living. I was running F-35 tests for the Air Force. I was getting to mentor young airmen, work every day with a great team, and I loved my job. And space flight was in the back of my mind, but I was definitely not doing anything in my life with that goal of, it wasn't solely to get to space. So I think that's kind of true for a lot of the people in my class. They were definitely interested in becoming astronauts, otherwise they wouldn't have applied. But I think what was different or what set them apart is they all had become experts in their field because it was something they were really passionate about. No one here became an engineer to check a box to become an engineer or became a scientist to check that box. They were doing it because they loved the work they were doing. I think that's probably the key. That and being a good team player, having some really, the missions we're going to be on are going to involve being in a small space for a long period of time with several people. And I know the office, the existing astronauts, that was one of the things that they were looking for as part of the selection is, are you someone I would like to spend 6 months with in a confined space, and would that work okay? And so that was also a big piece of this. So I'd say, technical competence, loving what you do, and playing well with others, honestly.
I'm going to back up a little bit now. I'd like you to tell us about your roots. Tell us about the role your father has played in the path that you have chosen.
As you probably already know, my dad was born and raised in Hyderabad, India, and then he got his bachelor's degree there in India, and then came to the United States, to Wisconsin, to get his master's degree, and that's where, fortunately for me, he met my mom, And then shortly after I was born, he moved to Iowa to work for John Deere, and that's where he worked his whole career. And I'd say he was definitely a formative force, obviously, as any parent would be for their child. But I think what was unique with his experience was, you know, and as it is for many immigrants, is the idea of coming to a new country, starting over, starting a whole new life. Definitely not something I appreciated when I was a child, because I was too young to understand what that meant. But as I've gotten older, and especially, you know, definitely now looking back, just understanding the sacrifice and the work that took, and his desire to make a better life for himself, for me, for his family, that's really inspiring. And I think the thing I did understand as a young child, and that was very obvious, was the importance of school. So I'd say one thing in India that he brought with him was that school and education is a privilege. It's not a right. And that was something that was very much enforced at our house. And we never took for granted the fact that we got to go to school. And now as a parent, I see the same thing. And so I know the sacrifices it took for him to be able to, you know, to afford to help us with schooling. And I think that's probably the biggest difference that he made.
You've said elsewhere that your advice to a younger you would be to not be so uptight all the time. Why?
Why? Let's see. Well, so I think, so my mom tells a story that I would clean my room to the point of almost excess, in terms of, like, they would actually have to encourage me to let it be a little messy. So I think, you know, I talked earlier in the day on another interview about the importance of, you know, STEM has been the buzzword for a while, and now we're talking about STEAM. And so, you know, expanding both sides of your brain, and maybe having a little bit of disorder in your life is okay, because it allows you to kind of open up your mind frame. So I think engineers, I being a prime example of that, we like to take every problem and dice it up, dissect it into very incremental parts and logically flow it. But life is not really like that. And so in either space flight or test flight, and I think I've appreciated that more, especially as I was doing testing, and as we do space testing, you know, you can't model everything. And so you have to be able to train and learn how to deal with uncertainty. And I think that's why that would be helpful advice. Yeah. To be okay with things going wrong and actually learn from them.